Hello, my name is Jonathan Wolfe, and we'll be doing a class on Let's Make Pad Thai. So how many of you had Pad Thai before? Okay, good. And the trickiest thing with this whole entire dish is getting the noodles perfect. If you start off with just like, dried rice noodles that come in a box, or sometimes they're in little plastic things. And the trick with getting the noodles perfect is soak them in cold or room temperature water for about an hour before you even start cooking. So these have been in here for about 40 minutes or so, and they're getting really close to being done. You'll know they're done when you can hold one noodle in your hand like this and it doesn't have any rigidity. So right now you can still see it's kind of still bending over a little bit. And so you want that to almost be limp right over your finger. So about an hour.
Okay.
Yep. It says 10 minutes in here. This is something I've been perfecting over the time. Last time I taught the class, 10 minutes is what I thought, and it was not enough. So definitely change that to 45 minutes to an hour. There is a little trick. You can warm up the water on a burner, which is what I've done here because they're not quite to the point where I'd like them to be. But you don't want to go too warm or for too long, otherwise they get kind of mushy and soggy. So room temperature water. Yep. That's the best part about this. So that is the trickiest part of this entire dish, is just getting the noodles to turn out nice and pliable but not sticky. Yep, floppy. So they're getting really close to being there. I've prepped quite a few of the other ingredients just because the other part of this dish is it takes a lot of stuff and it takes a while to get it all, worked up. But once you have it, it kind of it's a quick dish to actually make. It's only 5 or 10 minutes from start to finish once you have all the ingredients prepped. So I have shrimp here. Are you guys all okay with adding shrimp? Okay. Then the other ingredients we have are tofu, garlic. This is a garlic clove. Inside the clove, or inside the bulb, are these little cloves. And all I do is dice these up. You got to peel them first, which takes a little while, but you dice them up and you eventually get something that looks like that. And then tofu, obviously. I just took this little package right here and I sliced it and just cubed it. That eventually won't really stay in the cubes. They'll turn into little tiny bits of tofu, but those little bits kind of hold all the yummy flavors. Extra firm. Yep. That works really, really well. This is the other really big key. This combination of 4 things: the fish sauce, the soy sauce, the tamarind paste, and the coconut sugar, in the ratios that I put on the recipe there. It should be 1 tablespoon of fish sauce, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of tamarind puree, and 2 to 3 tablespoons of, it says sugar. You can use sugar, you can use brown sugar, but the coconut works the best. It has the best kind of flavor. So if you wanted to make that note too. And you can find this in the co-op too. Broth is kind of you can use it if the noodles are looking a little dry, but it's not absolutely necessary, but it adds a little bit of extra flavor. Eventually you'll put some eggs in, and I can show you that too. And then there'll be the noodles, and then all of this stuff is kind of right at the end. It's just a garnish. There's chives, limes, diced peanuts, and shredded carrots. And then this little ingredient is bean sprouts. You can buy them upstairs, or you can grow your own. If you grow your own, it's a little cheaper, but you don't really get the really fat bean sprouts unless you're very meticulous. And basically they're little mung bean seeds that you can, if you have an Instant Pot at home, you can put them in there and leave them there for about 4 or 5 days in like a really warm environment, and you can get the fat bean sprouts. But if you don't have that, upstairs is an easy thing. And then these come in kind of last, and you don't use all of them at the very end when the pot's still hot. You kind of fold them in later, and I'll show you that And then if you like spice, you can add chili flakes. Can be Thai chili flakes. If you don't like spice, you can omit it completely, because this dish is all about balancing the sweet, salty, and sour flavors, and then spice if you want to. So if you can get all those perfectly balanced, you're doing really well. And I'm kind of just passing a little time just to make sure the noodles are where I want them. But any questions up to this point about anything? That recipe should serve 2 to 3 people or so. That's a good note. I should put that on there to let everyone know.
You know, like on the fish sauce and the tamarind.
Yes.
You just use a little bit for this recipe. Will they last in the refrigerator?
Yes.
I mean,
Yep.
you know.
All of these ingredients here have long shelf lives. Typically, they don't last in my fridge more than 6 months because I use them so much. But yeah, they do have long shelf lives. Tamarind paste, I don't know if you've ever used this stuff or not, but it's different. It's it brings the sour flavor, and it kind of looks, I'll just come around. It kind of looks like this. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's kind of one of those neat ingredients that really brings the flavors together. Holly, you know what it smells like, right? So, let's see, salt, no, 10 milligrams. And the serving size is 1 tablespoon, so in this thing, you'll have maybe 15 to 20 milligrams, depending on how much you use. So yeah, the thing that'll bring the salt is the soy sauce and the fish sauce. I believe the fish sauce, yeah, that's got a higher salt concentration. For the 1 tablespoon that we use, it's 1,480 milligrams. So that's where your salt will come from. But these noodles are getting pretty close. You can see how they're getting very limp. Yeah, that's about right. So, so I guess we'll fire up the pan here. I have 2 different pans.
So if those noodles are ready, do you leave them in the water? Or do you...
Yeah, so now that they're ready, this water's kind of warm, so what I will do is I will strain them and just pour cold water over the top of them. Just because they're where I want them to be. I don't want them to get too much more cooked. So, but there's 2 kinds of pans. I always cook my stir fries in woks. So this is the one that I brought from home. It's just a stainless steel one. I don't like it as much as I like the cast iron one that the co-op has here. So we'll cook in the cast iron one. And the only reason is this kind of holds the heat a little longer, where this tends to really dissipate the heat very quickly. And that's okay, except for it's a really big pain to clean at the very end of the night. So typically all wok cooking I usually do on high or medium high. I will make sure that I'm, kind of used to this burner because sometimes they're a little hotter. The recipe calls for dried shrimp. They don't have dried shrimp at the co-op, but we do have fresh shrimp, kind of frozen fresh shrimp. And so we'll do that instead. It's there just for the flavoring, but some people like to have the shrimp. So I'm just gonna add just a smidge of sesame oil to the wok here. Can you guys see this all right? And the mirrors are angled right?
Is the sesame oil partly mostly for flavoring?
Yeah, sesame oil.
For flavoring than the cooking?
Yeah, sesame tends to give it more of that Asian flavor. It's subtle, but
Because I saw a technique recently on oilless cooking where you just add a little bit of water or whatever you need.
yeah, and you could probably get along just fine. I'm just so used to doing it with sesame that I just like that flavor that it imparts. So let's see, all I'm doing is draining the shrimp, and the shrimp came in the freezer, a little bag that looks like this or so, and all I did was thaw it a little bit and then took the tails off of them just by pinching them, and then just let it sit in cool water up here. You know, the skillet, like he said, has got a lot more mass to it, so it takes a little while to heat up, but we should get there pretty soon. While that is heating up, what I'm going to do is just make the sauce ingredients, just throwing them into a bowl here. So I got a tablespoon measuring scoop, and I'm just going to do 1 tablespoon of fish sauce. This stuff doesn't smell the best, but it adds great flavor. If you use too much, it'll start tasting quite fishy. So 1 tablespoon of that. And we'll do 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. So 1. Nice thing is everything's in tablespoons, so it's kind of a nice round number. And then, let's see, 2 tablespoons of tamarind puree. I'm just going to rinse the fishy soy flavors off of this. In fact, you know what? We've got all kinds of spoons here. I'll just use one of these for the tamarind. So this is half a tablespoon, which means I need 4. And real quick, this thing feels like it's kind of hot, so I'm just going to throw the shrimp in there. Just to get them going. They're already cooked, so it's not a big deal how long you cook them. I'm just trying to get some flavoring there. So while those are going, let's grab our tamarind puree. And I shake this before I grab some out of there. Let's see. So this is a half tablespoon, so I need 4 of these to get 2 tablespoons. So there's what should be 2 tablespoons of tamarind. And let's just give these a little fluff. And then we will come to the coconut sugar, also called palm sugar too. It goes by either name, but we will do 2 of these. You can do 2 to 3. If you like it a little more on the sweeter side, you can go for a little bit more, but I've found 2 works just fine. And like I said, you can use brown sugar if you don't have coconut sugar. Let's see here. Keep this kind of hot. Okay. Another thing I'll mention, I use silicone tongs every time that I do pad thai, mainly for the noodles. If you use metal, anything, spatula, it tends to cut the noodles and you end up getting a lot of very small noodles. So tongs are really good because when I get to that part, I'll show you more, but that seems to be my tool of choice. So all I'm going to do is stir the sauce together. Just simply stirring. Can you see this at all? I'll try to move to the mirrors. It just turns into basically a brown liquid, and you stir until everything's just kind of incorporated. And then it doesn't take a whole lot, but it doesn't take. And ta-da! All right, so we'll keep the shrimp going. They kind of curl up into these little things. And one thing with this is there's a bit of water that's with the shrimp, which is okay. But now I'm going to throw some more sesame oil in because it takes about 3 tablespoons or so. So usually I kind of eyeball it, but just for giggles, I'll add 2 of these since I've already added about 1. So there's 1 and 2. And we're just going to kind of proceed in basically 4 steps. We're going to add this here, and then we're going to basically cook that until it looks pretty done. It's, what I say, 2 to 3 minutes on high. And then we're going to add the noodles and the sauce, and we'll make our way down the list here in a second. So starting off, I'm going to add garlic, and it says 2 large cloves. Do you guys like garlic? Okay, I do too. So I'm going to put the whole thing in there. It doesn't hurt anything to be heavy on the garlic. And I'm going to also throw the tofu in there. And you're basically just browning this stuff up. Right. Yep. So, right. Yep. Sorry. 1, what did I say? Yeah, 2 large garlic cloves, and this is the clove. You can do the whole bulb if you want to, but it might be a little overpowering there. So yeah, you basically just cook this for 2 or 3 minutes until it starts getting a little bit of caramelization. This burner is not quite as hot as the one that I have at home, but we'll get there. Let's see. So that. The nice thing is all of this stuff on this side of the table is the easiest thing to do at the very end, just adding them. Where this is the hardest part is just making it so that this stuff kind of caramelizes a little bit, and then once we add the noodles, caramelizing the noodles too. That you don't want the noodles in the pan for a long time. So doing everything you need to do before you put the noodles in is kind of nice, especially like making sure that these are caramelized a bit. And you'll know you've gone too far if the garlic starts turning black. Brown is good. Yeah, so this is looking pretty close. I think the extra water from the shrimp is taking it a little while to kind of evaporate, and because you don't want it soaking wet, but the noodles will absorb a lot of this like sauce. Thanks. So yeah, and with woks you can make it evaporate some of that water by just kind of swishing it around a little more to the sides. That's kind of the beauty of woks, is because you don't want it soaking wet. But we're getting very close to the time where we're going to add some noodles. And the amount of noodles in this box here is almost double the recipe, so I'm only going to add half of them. And if we need to make another batch, we can make another batch. So, and noodles are looking pretty good. They're pretty limp. And if we have to, we can cook them a little bit longer in the pot. But there, the garlic's starting to get to that golden brown color right now. And you don't want to go too much beyond that, otherwise you're going to have burnt garlic flavor. And I'm just going to try to grab about half the noodles here. And we're just going to toss them in the pot. And right when I add the noodles, I'm also going to add all the sauce. And that's just going to go right over the top of them. All right. Yeah, it's super versatile. So all I'm going to do right now is kind of just mix the noodles in with the sauce and let it do its thing. The noodles will absorb that liquid that was in the pan. And so it's looking pretty good. Right about, we'll give it let's see, a minute or two, just to kind of do its thing. And like I said, I'm just kind of tossing it by picking it up and just moving the noodles on top of one another. And there'll be another trick here where when I add the eggs, I'm going to add them to the side after these noodles get good and hot. And you're basically going to just take a big chunk of these noodles and flop them right on top of the eggs and just let it sit for a little while. So, I'm going to grab, I've got 2 eggs just cracked in here. Noodles are getting hot. And that's the other thing about the sesame oil, is it tends to get the pot or the pan a little hotter. So when you start to cook the eggs and stuff, it retains that heat. So, all right. What we're going to do now is just add these eggs just right to the side here. And if you want to, you can break the yolks. I usually do, just to help it out. And then I just take the noodles and I just kind of put them on top of there. And then let them sit there for, 30 seconds or so. And they're just going to kind of cook underneath that mass. So at this point, I could add a little bit of broth, but it's looking pretty nice. If they were looking a little dry, I would probably add the broth, but that extra water from the shrimp helped. Like I said, the broth is only there really for flavoring, and if you're having a rough time trying to keep the noodles either hydrated or not. And then once I'm done, I just kind of, after 30 seconds, just start to kind of pick them up. And just basically you're just tossing the whole pan together. Just pick up a scoop and put it on top of the other. Pick up a scoop. And you just do this for a little while until your eggs look mostly cooked. If you find big bits of egg, you can just kind of toss it onto the side. The noodles should do most of the cooking of the egg. You can see it's starting to look a little drier, but that's okay. We're almost done. I'm just going to make sure there's no egg on the bottom. And you don't have to cook the egg entirely. The noodles will cook the egg as it sits here and as you get ready to plate things up. I try to get most of the way cooked because I don't like slimy noodles. So, yep, just having them do that. And then here's where the magic kind of comes in, especially when you add these. So I'm going to add chives. It only calls for just a small bunch of them, so I'm just going to add just a small bunch of chives, not the whole thing. Peanuts is 3 tablespoons, so you're going to kind of want quite a bit of these. And I diced up about 4 tablespoons. Carrots, I'm going to save a little bit of these for garnish, but you can just throw a little bit of those in there. And then bean sprouts. And I'll come back to the limes because I haven't cut them up yet. But bean sprouts, you can go pretty crazy on this and add quite a bit. And right at this time, I'm going to actually turn off the heat. And we're going to basically just take this and keep on moving it like this. And all you're doing is just incorporating everything into the plate. And only takes a little while, but while that's doing that, I'm going to quickly cut a line. And I'm not going to cut right down the middle. I'll tell you about that after I get done here. Some lime juice on here. I'm going to do 2 of these. And continue on with the mix. And again, the heat is off now. You don't want the heat on when you put the bean sprouts in because it makes them soggy. You just want them to be kind of crunchy. So that about does it for pad thai. Ta-da! Yep. Yep, if you leave the noodles in too long, they'll all kind of just start melding together. Have everything ready to go before you even turn on the pan. That's why this class is super nice, because you can do that. At home, I'm a little more lazy and try to do it quickly as I'm doing other things, and I can attest that I get a little frantic in the kitchen. But, yeah. Exactly. So, ta-da! Let's serve you up a bowl.